so begins the journey. Filling up, getting some gas here at a Valero next to the U-Haul. We're gonna grab the trailer and then we're gonna pick up the GL 1100, make a death trap. Everything checked in, take the sweet $100 Toyota, head on over and grab the trailer. Oh, look what my dumbass did. So there's my adapter because I didn't do the right one. We are on the road. Here we go. Time to get the first part of our death trap. This trailer is a lot tinier than I thought it was gonna be. This is exciting. I can't wait to see this big piece of crap. Oh yeah, the human centipede of Japanese garbage. Wow, you should see how it's loaded in there. I did a compression test for seeing about 130 all the way around. It has 40,000 miles on it, so that's not bad. It'll run. Could need a valve adjustment to get a little bit more. It was spinning pretty slow too, because I was just using their jumper pack to be able to do a compression test, and I pulled all the plugs and made sure to have the throttle wide open and no choke on and everything. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. That was insane. Here she is. Oh yeah, that's the code. That's safe. Load her in the garage. So I'm gonna try jacking the tongue. See if we can't get this thing more like a lower ramp for me. We're gonna see what happens here. Junk. Holy crap. I'm just teeter-tottering. We just want the engine. I'm taking this, that drive shaft, mainly do the final drive, some exhaust, carbs, all that stuff. Maybe I'll do fuel injection, I don't know. But the idea is this in the front of a Go-Kart. Then I have a 100 horsepower, 85 foot-pounds of torque, water-cooled, 4-cylinder boxer engine in a Go-Kart. They're such cool engines, and having a drive shaft going back to a jack shaft, to a chain, to a solid thick boy rear axle, yeah, just have a badass shifter cart. That's dangerous as all hell. So once I get this down, the next task is strip everything off of this thing, throw it in the trailer and dump it. Do or die. Probably the latter. Yeah. Oh, this thing's gonna come down quick. Oh, that is man. Brr. Slow. Oof. You did it. You did it. It is. Alrighty, we're gonna put her on the center stand. Just start stripping this thing down. Okay, 1, 2. God. Wow, this thing is heavy. Busting things open here. Got a free pair of work pants that are actually my size. And then check this out. Large DOT helmet. Nice. Some nice riding gloves. Trash. Whoa! City of San Mateo towing warning. What else we got? We may have paperwork for this fucking thing. Check that out. Got a freaking nice little husky knife, too. How is it? Yeah, look at that. What a come up. Boom. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Junk. To the dump. This. Soon a go-kart. Bye-bye. Junk I don't need. All right, everything was taken to the dump. Now begins the clean of this absolute disaster of a garage right now. So Gonna get to it. I would call that a hell of a first day. Stripped off quite a bit of the bike. There's more I want to take off. Tomorrow what I want to do is create a charging and ignition circuit so I can run the bike. It needs new gas. The plugs were absolutely coated in fuel. Oh yeah, that is varnish. Woo! That's the good stuff. But all of that is not a big deal. Just to get it bare bones running for a little bit would be fantastic. Good morning. Last night I put the battery on a charger, and if you look, it has a QR code. It looks like a pretty new battery, and I also did some other investigative stuff here. So I've got this tow notice, which was in one of the locked cases, and that is dated 10/6/25 at 12:18 p.m. So that means that somebody at least had a key to it, which the owner that sold it to me did not. So it was probably the owner prior to the one that I bought it from who actually drove it then. And the helmet is so new and so clean, and so are the gloves. Yeah, it still has new helmet smell and everything. Let me show you something else here. The belts right here are in really good condition. Really good. They feel almost new, and this little label right here says made in China. So it's not original belts at a bare minimum. Yeah, it looks really, really clean. And I think we can get it running if we get some fresh gas and everything in it. And just make sure all the basics are set. I have to say, I've never had more fun taking a motorcycle apart, because you don't have to care about anything. Just yank on wires and take it apart for certain things like throttle and brakes, and yeah, save that. But 90% is just rip it out and go. Super fun. There we go. Main harness. Go ahead. We are pretty well stripped down here. I'm gonna keep going here and clean it up a little tiny bit more, wipe it down, and then I'm gonna start wiring it. Look at these cute little ignition units, and it has two because it has two pickup coils. Looks to go back into the center of the engine, so I'm guessing it gets a reference off the crank, but there's two different pickup coils, one for this side, that side, or maybe it's cross and cross. I don't know the firing order or anything, but these need to be plugged in so that the coils can fire, and then plug in this. But yeah, we'll go ahead and grab my laptop, and look at that, 13.3. Not too warm, just a little bit, but I think that'll work just fine. Just gonna go ahead and take this whole harness and unwrap it. It's gonna be a big old sticky mess, which is fine, but I'll probably trim pieces. You can see a lot of stuff. Like this has nicks in it all around here. It won't short. It's only on one wire and it's not facing the other, but that's the kind of stuff I'm trying to eliminate here, because I just don't trust a harness that is this old, and I could see that people have been monkeying around with it and everything. So peel back what I can, enough to cut it and then use it for what I need. Chop connectors and build our own harness using the wiring diagram. Look how simple this is. So there's your pickup coils. It's your ignition units. I haven't hooked them up yet. There's your 3 charging coil wires going to your rectifier, and this will go to your main power and all of that. We'll have a power switch, and here's your coils right there and your starting relay. So now it's just a matter of testing everything, making sure the starting relay works, just getting a small little test harness wired up and going from there. So it turns out that this solenoid, it is stuck. Need a new one, or we can improvise something in the meantime. I tried fiddling with it for a while, but it's just too worn out. So this spring should keep tension on that so that these two poles are not connected. So by thumb, I can do that. And I let go and it has connection. This spring has lost its spring, or this is too corroded or something, but it's just not worth it, especially since what can happen is it gets stuck on and then I have to remove bolts in a quick, fast, hurry panic. I would rather just take this and connect it to that. So for now, we're just gonna go ahead and arc it out on there. Here's the starter wire. Bam, start it like that. Just for today, because I don't want to stop working and I really don't have anything. I was going to do something stupid and think, oh, it says 40 amps, but no, that's dumb. Look at how small that is. It's not going to work. So let's get ignition as well as charging system. So let me grab my laptop and we'll reverse engineer this thing. Alrighty, so I'm going to handle the ignition system first. So here we have our two ignition coils, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this coil handles 1, 2, this coil handles 3, 4. Cool. So it's got a big ballast resistor right there. That's all ahead of this connector right here. You can see the big old resistor right there. So that is just 3 wires. We've got blue, yellow, black, white, and yellow. Yellow, black, white, blue, yellow. Yep, there we go. So there's our connector there. That is going to end up going to these spark units. So yellow seems to connect to a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to assume yellow is our 12-volt power. So then black, white ends up going to the spark unit. So I missed it because they didn't do the little hoop to show that it crosses over, but look, the yellow crosses over there. It doesn't connect, just crosses over. I just made the mistake. So yellow goes to one ignition unit, and then blue yellow goes to the other. And then black white, I think I remember now, black white is 12-volt power for most everything on Hondas. So this is going to be my little temporary setup. You got your charging relay, 2 ignition, because there's only 3 wires coming off of here, which I assume is power. Then you have each separate ignition unit here. And I have to wire it to this guy, which should be pretty self-evident. Just gotta clean those with a little bit of that right there. And put a little inline fuse and call it a day. So we've got our pickup coil connected. There's 1. There's 2. That goes into each separate ignition unit. Here it sends out to the coils. Black-white is power for the coils. Black-white on each of these is power for the ignition unit. And then G, green, ground. Wire this, and the coil all together into one circuit and have one lead for power. And that powers the whole ignition circuit. And what we can do is we can hook it up, put the spark plugs here, which I'm going to go through the plug wires. It's really common for these to get corrosion. Let me see if I can show it here. You see how there's a little flathead right there? There's little resistors inside these NGK spark plug caps. So you clean those because those can cause bad spark, and also they get corroded where these twist and thread into here. So I always just take them off, snip off a little bit, put it back on. Sometimes I do it for the coils. I think they're hardwired in there, but we'll leave it alone up there. If we get great spark after doing all that, great. I might actually just test it first, leave it alone. If it gets great spark, fine, awesome. But the thing is, it can show great spark here, but then as it runs and gets hot, it starts having issues. I'm going to go through it and clean it up, but we should be ready to test the ignition system pretty soon here. Yeah, that was super loose. Thread into the wire from like a little threaded wire. Yeah, and you can see it's a little bit corroded right there. Also, not a whole lot of contact with the wires. Yeah, it's not terribly dirty. Probably would have been fine, but all you have to do is take some snips and cut off a tiny section of it, like this. Now you've got nice fresh wires, and you twist it back in there. But before we do, go ahead and take a flathead and remove that and see if that little resistor, sometimes it's just a spring or a solid piece of metal. I think it depends on the code, which I don't care to look up, but we'll take that out and see what's inside. Alrighty, let's see. No, the ends are actually nice and clean. It's rare. I've seen these totally green before. I'm still going to check all of them because they can get corroded and everything, and then it won't want to spark. But yeah, and maybe that's because some of the ones I've worked on don't have these, and then water soaks in. But since it had these, it could block it out. And there's little water weep holes in these cylinders that drop through to the bottom, and as long as they don't get clogged, then it can do its job and not get all backed up and everything. Barely trying. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, there we go. That one's much more corroded, bad connection. So, yep. That's why I always do this on old Japanese bikes. This is why we check everything. The guy selling it said maybe it has electrical issue. It wants to start, but it just can't. And there is no spring in this one. So this one wasn't able to spark. I looked all around. I made sure I didn't have it come out. I didn't see it come out. So I think I have some springs I can put in here to make it work. That would cause a running issue. The plugs were all just absolutely caked fuel when I took them out before I bought it to do a compression test. And let's see if this one's super, super wet. Yeah, this one's super wet and fouled. Let's see how it looks in contrast to this one. Yeah, there we go. There you go. Number 1 and cylinder 3. Yeah, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, that was their running issue. You had one cylinder not firing because someone lost the spring. Look at that. That's why you double check everything. Put this in here. We'll see if we have spark. No spark. Well, when you have a bad ground, I ohmed it out. I was like, maybe bad ground. That was a bad ground, so I'm going right to the battery. And when you don't have it plugged into the pickup, it's not going to know when to spark. Alrighty. Round 2. Here we go. Hey! All 4. Beautiful. You know, that gas does smell like crap, but let's try it. If it was missing a whole cylinder, yeah, it's not going to want to start. And that may be why it was parked for a long time getting notices that it was going to get towed. Because somebody was working on it, tried fixing it up, and they're like, I went through everything, it looks great. I just cleaned those little resistors, there must not be anything wrong. But they were missing a frickin' spring. It's always the last owner, not the vehicle or the bike itself. It's always the last person that worked on it. I'm really willing to bet this thing's gonna run. It's on. Okay. I heard a big whoosh, which means the fuel pump was trying to pull fuel. So that's a good sign. Yeah, somebody put some love into this thing and then they just didn't know what they were doing. I'm so glad I decided to check that. I almost didn't. And I was like, then you'll be wondering, why isn't it starting? Is it this? Whatever. So, all right, we're going to keep the choke right here. Gauge the ignition. We'll see if she starts. first turnover. That was what, 3 rotations or something? Wow. Freaking awesome. So here's what I've figured out. Yellow goes to the alternator right there. Goes in, gets rectified, blah, blah, blah. These 2 red tie together, go to the battery, broken by a 30 amp main fuse, which I don't have right now, but I will in the future. So these are always hot, always connected. These G's right here seem to, your turn signals will go out right there if you lose charging. It's like a little warning thing, and then your headlight will go out too. So I just put those to ground because I assume that's why they did that. And then black goes to the start-stop engine kill switch to 12 volt. So I believe that's the voltage sense wire. And I double checked. I've got my amp clamp right here. There's nothing traveling through there. So I'm going to start the bike, and then I'm going to check the voltage, make sure I don't see anything. Or maybe I'll see super high voltage because it doesn't know what it's sensing and it's getting an input. And then I'll go ahead and connect the black wire and see if that changes the voltage. So let me get this rigged up so I don't have to fiddle with it. There's our ignition system. Go ahead and start her up. Does seem to be charging. There are these. Oh, I lost my negative lead. Doesn't seem to make any difference. Let's see what kind of amperage we're getting here out of this thing. 11 amps, so it's not shooting out a crazy amount of amperage or anything. So 20 amps when it revs up. Let's see what the voltage goes to when we rev it. Goes a little high. Well, let's connect this and see if that changes it. So move that. Yep, that's our voltage sense wire. Got it. Shut down voltage and ignition. Cool. Have a leaky radiator cap there, so we'll have to take a look at that, try and clean that up. It's dripping a little bit. Yeah, but overall, wow, amazing. Super stoked. Battery's staying at a good voltage too. It's a good battery. Lucking out on all fronts. It did have a little smoke coming out of there, but who knows? Somebody may have sprayed something in there, or it's been getting oil soaked for a while, who knows, but we'll attack the radiator and all that, and I think I'll do a little cleanup first and maybe get this where I can move it where it's shooting out the back there so I'm not smoking myself to death here. Alrighty, let's see if we fixed the coolant leak. Don't have the fans running, but it's fine. It'd be okay. It's South San Francisco. It's cool right now. So, this is our ignition. We're on up. Give her a start. last time I ran it, when I was checking out the charging system, it was popping, which was disheartening, but I had the fuel turned off. It sounds perfect. All right. I think that's a good place to stop, because I don't feel like doing more wiring, and that's what it's going to take to get the little thermo switch that turns on the cooling fan and all that stuff. And I really should be doing fuses and relays and all kinds of stuff, and I just don't have that on here right now. So I'm gonna just leave it as it lies, and yeah, edit this video together, clean up the garage one last time, and yeah, awesome.